Good evening, and welcome to Equine Voices. And my name is Ronnie, and I'm your host for this evening. And tonight's special guest is Karen Rohlf, and I shall shortly bring her in so she can introduce herself and tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does, and how horses have influenced and shaped her life, but also about her intuition, how that's guided her and helped to make decisions and brought her to where she is today. So, without further ado, it is my greatest pleasure to introduce Karen.
Hello.
Hi, Karen, and welcome. So, if you'd like to introduce yourself, the floor's yours.
Sure. So my name's Karen Rohlf, and my business is called Dressage Naturally, and that is a result of my combination of my experience as a dressage professional and then my immersion into natural horsemanship or more partnership-based training. And so what I focus on is helping students and their horses enjoy the process of learning to move in harmony by creating stronger partnerships and healthy biomechanics.
Thank you. That was lovely. Um, so the little bit. So I don't know. I don't know everything about you. I just know you. Obviously, you've crossed my path on Facebook. I have seen you on there quite a few years, and I've seen you on the internet, and I know a little bit about you.
Mhm.
But it was through Warwick's interview that I got to know a little bit more about you and your intuition and your guidance and how your life changed. So would you mind just explaining a little bit about where you was before? So you was an international dressage competitor, you was a trainer. If you'd like to just describe who Karen was then, and then we'll go into where she is today.
Yeah, I think I think where we need to start is I started out just like a really horse crazy girl. So, I started out as a backyard rider with a silly little horse in my backyard with my best friend doing that. And then through a series of accidents, I ended up becoming a dressage professional, just because I had done well competitively. And even though I was in university trying to do some other real, real career, people kept paying me to ride. So it started out as just horse crazy girl with no real ambitions except I love horses. And then I became, a professional, and I did a lot of horses and training. We competed. I did represent the United States at Young Riders Championships, and was kind of going down that path of whatever it means to be a dressage professional. Um, Thought I was perfectly happy, but starting to feel a little bit dissatisfied, a little bit like something was missing, um, and then had some sort of interesting experiences with some horses that caused me to go, wait a minute. I need to rethink how I'm doing everything. And and that kind of brought me full circle back to doing horses in a way that reminded me of how I felt when I was a little kid in love with horses. And so that's kind of my goal now, is to keep that feeling and train instead of throwing away that feeling to try to become very professional, you know, and focus on the professionalism, whatever that means. So now I really focus on, I love horses and I want to feel like a little kid in love with horses every single day. And sorry, I was supposed to focus on the before. I gave you the whole story.
That's fine. No, that's fine. So that excitement of when you're a kid and you see, I mean, I remember I was late coming to horses. I always loved horses, but my parents weren't in a position to, to have a pony or anything like that. So I did go to riding lessons, but it was as and when. And I can always remember if I was in the house and you heard clip clop, clip clop, clip clop,
Mhm.
I'd run to the window and I'd like, and I'd go out and I'd go, please can I stroke your horse? Please can I stroke your horse?
Oh, nice.
And and I'd get so excited and I'd watch them go off down the street and until you could barely see them and I could feel my heart pounding. And so, oh wow, I wish. So when I finally had my first pony, it was like, oh, oh my God, what am I doing? This animal is going to rely on me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really important for everybody to remember. Because I think when you're in the business and you do it as a profession, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, another horse. Oh yeah, another horse. I got a job to do. But I try to keep it in the front of my mind that like these horses' lives are completely in my hands. And, had an experience when I was a kid of when I sold my first horse and sold it to a friend. And I thought that would be great because I could get to still see the horse. And then I just watched that horse, just crumble emotionally and turn from the sweetest horse in the world to an aggressive horse. And then one summer when I was away, they sold it to the local horse dealer. And like that just still, I've got I got a picture of that horse on my desk always.
Oh,
So I remember, like, I have a responsibility, and
yeah.
and their lives and their success in this life is completely in our hands based on human decisions. So I learned that early. It was heartbreaking, but I think it actually that experience really shaped who I am today and how I do things.
And you still remember that, so that's ingrained in you, but that's driving you forward.
Mhm.
Although that must have been horrible, and but it's still there, so it makes it even more important that you get your message across.
Yeah.
When I say message, you're teaching, you're learning, to help people with the horses to have a fun relationship. And it doesn't mean that they can't be competitive, but it's just recognize that that's one thing, that's something else. But if you bring them together, wow, what could you
Mhm.
achieve? But let go of the outcome.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the I'd said there was a few experiences when I was a professional that caused me to rethink things, and so the second horse that I had when I was a kid was an off the track thoroughbred who did, like, hunter jumper stuff and didn't know any dressage, and neither did I, but I wasn't interested in dressage at that point so much, but I did it anyway because I was in pony club. But it was that horse that I ended up representing the US on the young riders team. So that horse, like, kept going above and beyond what anybody thought that he should do. We never would have bought him if we were looking for a upper level competitive dressage horse, but he that's what he turned into. And I remember, like, he's the one who made my career really. And, I remember thinking, "Gosh, he was such a special horse. He gave so much. He gave so much. I'll never meet a horse as special as that horse." And, so then as I'm a professional trainer for years and I didn't have my own horse, but worked with lots of much more talented horses as far as their breeding and their movement. And I always think, gosh, no horse gives as much as that horse gave. And it wasn't until I met somebody willed me a horse, then it was kind of a shutdown upper level horse, and so there I had him, and I started playing with him and doing more partnership stuff and playing with him like I did when I was a kid because I finally had my own horse again. And then all of a sudden, that horse started going above and beyond, and I said, "I haven't had this feeling since that other horse, Brave Tom, from when I was a kid." And I thought, "Oh gosh, it's the way I'm treating them." Because I'm not just training them and focusing on technique. I actually, like, cuddled and schmoozed and had relationship stuff and did funny, silly stuff with this horse because he was mine, he wasn't one of my clients' horses, and all of a sudden, he started going above and beyond and offering more and more, and that's what really got my attention and said, "Oh, my success in dressage training is definitely due to technique, but not technique alone. Because if I didn't have that relationship with the horse, they're just gonna let me move them around, but they're not gonna do things with me and for me." And so once I saw that, it's like there's no going back. And I had to it's really the relationship part is absolutely integral to any kind of success, I think.
Absolutely. I was just as you was talking there, I was thinking about the film Seabiscuit. Have you seen that?
Yes, I
And
love that.
I love it. And at the end, when he's racing, I know the actual when he's on the actual horse, it's not a horse, it's a mechanical horse. But I'm on the sofa and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm going. But it's more about not winning the race. It's the the drive of proving other people wrong about this
Yeah.
little horse, that it was broken and it was going to be, you know, it was going to be put to sleep, it was going to be shot. And the relationship, and I love it. And I like those films. And Champion, Bob Champion, that film.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
another one about him and the horse that he won the Grand National on. And it's just a feel good, and you can just, it's that working together, that those two energies coming together and making the best of what they've got, but going past the point that people think they're going to get past, which
Mhm.
which I love. So just tell us a little bit about the horse. So you've mentioned Tom.
Mhm.
And you've also got is it Vivaldi? I know that because I've got it
Yeah,
written down, so
yeah,
I don't forget.
Vivaldi, that's the horse that was willed to me that was sort of shut down, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then you, Monty was the one that, was that the one that you set you off to go to see Pat and
Well, yeah, so Vivaldi, who we his little pet name was Bubba. But, Vivaldi was the one. He was really shut down, and he was starting to have some soundness problems, and he's the one that I first said, "Oh, let me learn some fun, silly tricks with him," and I stumbled across a Pirelli clinic. I didn't really know what that was, but I saw them, horse standing on a pedestal, so I'm like, "That looks like a fun, silly trick." So again, kinda stumbled across natural horsemanship. I didn't know what that was, but with some, very simple, different kind of exercises and techniques that I had no idea about, I saw the light come on in his eye and I saw his personality coming out. So he was the one that first got my attention of going, oh, wait, all of a sudden he's offering more. And then, Monty was, a horse that now I knew a little bit of new information, and you know what they say, a little information is more dangerous than than none. So I thought, "Well, I gotta practice this funny stuff," but I'm in the middle of a dressage training facility. I didn't have, nobody really wanted me to do that with their horses, so, I found out about this Lipizzan who was being given away because he was crazy or whatever, and he dumped people. I thought, "Oh, good. Here's a horse that's messed up. I can't mess him up anymore. I'll experiment with this new, partnership-based techniques with him, and he'll be mine, and I can afford him because he's a dollar, and, I'll just see if this stuff really works or not." So, he was my little experiment horse, and he just turned out to be quite a challenge, but also just amazing what he could do at liberty and bridleless, and he just really was I think he was brought into my life to go, you see, it really does work. And he humbled me and he made me start from scratch and look at again everything that I did because he was a bit challenging and he wouldn't like, Vivaldi was very tolerant. Monty was not. He's like, "Nope, out of here. Bye. You can't do that." So I had, huh, how am I gonna approach this differently? So he really taught me about, he made me rethink how I was thinking, because that horse, if I didn't change how I was thinking, he wouldn't change. He could tell what I was thinking when I left the house. And I headed out in the pasture, and he'd look at me from, like, 10 acres away and go, "No." Or he'd come to me completely dependent on my thoughts. So he really, really taught me that.
It's amazing when, but the tiniest tweak can make a difference. But it is. Do you find it's hard when it's your horse and you've got um, your emotional self with it? Do you find it's harder than when you're teaching a client and their horse, their partner?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a little bit harder because it's hard to not be somewhat more emotionally attached, or as a professional, there's always the added pressure of like, I'm the professional. This should be going better than it is. We put extra pressure on ourselves, which can, usually does not help matters. But on the other hand, so when I'm teaching other people with their horses, I can stand back and have a little clearer perspective because I can see, look, I see what's going on here. It's easy. It's harder to see the picture when you're inside the frame, for sure. But now the way I train and work with horses, I actually don't enjoy training other people's horses because I can't do it without creating a really close, open, trusting relationship. And once I do that, I find it really hard to, give them back or, um, yeah, I find it hard. So I love working with people and their horses together and creating that partnership and helping them do that. And I love working with my own horses, but I find it really hard and really heartbreaking to just train other people's horses.
And it's the thing is when you, I'm assuming because I'm not a trainer, but when you're training another horse and that horse goes back to the owner, to the carer, I like to call them carers,
Mhm.
then they have to take over and try and do the same thing that you achieved with their horses, but they're not you, and they won't sit like you, or they won't have the
Yeah.
same energy. So they've almost got to figure it out when they get them back to try and see, okay, what's working, and that can be difficult sometimes. So it's
Yeah.
nice to do it the way that you do, where you have your client and the horse, and you can see them working together. You can point things out, but you can see the improvement, and they get to experience it from the not negative, but from the things that don't go the way. And then they think,
Mhm.
as they're practicing, it's like, okay, I get that now. Oh, I get what you're saying. And then the next bit will go, I really get what you're saying, which must be really nice and rewarding to do.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the interesting part is, it's that person's horse, so that's gotta be the goal. It doesn't matter what it does for me, it matters what it does for them. So, sometimes I'll get on a student's horse to help educate or clarify something or give someone a picture, but the goal is always for them to understand each other and to be a partnership. That's what the horse needs, and that's why I really enjoy working with students who are interested in becoming empowered, right? So if someone says, "Can you fix my horse?" Like, no, that's not gonna work, but if they come to me going, I love this horse and here's what we're trying to do and here's where we're stuck. Can you help me? I'm like, sure. So I've learned that that's what I enjoy doing personally, because after training other people's horses for so long, and it can be extremely rewarding when I put a horse and a rider together and they go off into the sunset, enjoy each other. And it's extremely heartbreaking if you take a horse that you work really hard to open up their trust and open up their vulnerability and let them be soft and let them be open, and then you give them back to someone who's gonna violate that every single day. I feel like I did the horse a disservice.
Mhm.
So I'm very particular about, anything I do with that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean by that. I think a lot of people that work in the horse business or the horse side of work, um, I think if they're actually, I have to be careful how I say this because it might be, I don't want to insult anybody, but if they get where they're really in that place that you are, and they're working towards that place, that they can see things and feel things that maybe somebody else wouldn't. And it's not because they're being cruel or mean, it's just that they're not in that mindset. They haven't either been pointed out that way, or they're just not in that mindset.
Mhm.
So it can be really hard to work around horses when you come back and you think, as you've said, if you're going to do that, you want something to change between the dynamics of the horse and the human,
Mhm.
not to carry on down the same route, because otherwise, other issues or a similar issue is going to reoccur because it's not seen from the human point of view. It's not really
Yeah.
seen where the horse is coming from.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I mean, we're all learning, so it's not
yeah.
like I'm perfect by any means, and I also, there's people who specialize in starting horses and helping, rehabilitate horses, and we need people who can do that. We need people who can train horses. I just can't do it from an emotional point of view. So I'm not saying it's wrong, because we definitely need people who can help horses that are in bad spots, or educate horses so that they can be matched with people who have similar goals. It's
Yeah.
just, I've realized myself emotionally, that's not what I want to do. Um, and that can be successful. Someone starts a horse or educates a horse and then sells it to somebody, and that person. I think the main thing is that anybody who owns a horse, in my opinion, anybody who owns a horse has to be really, really invested in the well-being of that horse's whole life. And if someone has that attitude, then anything's possible. We can learn, we can do our best, we can make mistakes, we can recover from our mistakes. It's that intention of that full realization of our responsibility to the horse. I think that's the piece that I want to surround myself with, people who really feel that
Yeah.
and are making decisions in the best interests of their horses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Karen, where are you today? So, if somebody came to you and says, "Can you help me with my relationship with my horse?" So, what would be the first steps that you would do? Um, how would you evaluate them, and how would you sort of start the process?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because right now, if somebody comes to me, I have so many resources for people already. So between like podcast or my videos, classroom, and things like that, and my book, and I'll often send them to those, and that's going to sound like, oh, it's a marketing thing, but it's really not, because like I said, I'm interested in riders who or owners who are really interested in being invested and empowered. And so people who are like, "You've got videos for that? Let me go watch those." It's that, like, I'm going to go learn and I'm going to figure this out, rather than, "Okay, here I am. Make me do stuff." So there's definitely a time and a place for in-person things. But I usually point people to some of my resources, kind of just to go, how interested are you, really? Like, are you going to go put some effort into finding out what you can find out? So that's part of the empowerment part that's I'm really interested in, is like, how can I help you learn more yourself? But when somebody does come to me, or when I'm giving clinics and I meet students for the first time, I do I ask them lots of questions about what's working and what's not, and I just really listen to them. Then I'll observe them. And so I don't jump right in and start to micromanage and go, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. What I do is look, and I have three first filters. And I think the one filter is foundation partnership. So in that bucket is the horse look healthy? Is it pain free? What's the attitude between the horse and the rider? What words are they using to describe the horse? And is there like basic basic foundational, they can move around and be safe around each other? Or are they leaping and bucking? Or are they scared of each other? And then if that bucket is sort of okay, like, all right, they're happy enough together, then I look at, how are they moving? Is the horse crooked? Is it irregular? Is it contracted? Is it tight? Are they pulling on the reins? And that's the sort of biomechanical harmony bucket. And if everything's good there, then I look at the gymnastic development. Are they engaged? Are they collected? Are they supple? Are they straight? Do they have carrying power? Things like that. So when I first see someone, I stand back and I go, where is the disharmony? So I just look, like, where's the harmony? Where's the disharmony? And then if there's disharmony, which bucket is it in? Is it in a partnership bucket? Sort of partnership well-being? Is it in the biomechanics bucket? Or is it in the gymnastic bucket? And when I think of the partnership, because that's sort of the first place you have to go, I look at, is this a happy horse? Is it a happy person? And are they happy together? And that's where I start. So if there's missing pieces there, I have to start there. You can't, if you have a rider coming in going, my horse is such a jerk, I'm like, oh, we're not going to work on shoulder ends. We're like, "Really?" So and then we just move from there. So that's what I have, what I call my happy athlete training scale. And at the base is happiness. Is it a happy horse with a happy life and a happy human with a happy life? And then the next step is, do they have harmony together? And then if they have harmony, how well do they communicate? And if they can communicate well, then are we able to, how is their biomechanics? How well do they move together? And then if that's all good, the pinnacle for me is dressage and gymnastic training. But I have to address it in that order
Mhm.
ultimately.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of stages though, isn't it? So you can pinpoint certain areas. But yeah, that makes sense to me, and that's quite a clear picture of where you got to go. But that's my thing. I don't like to hear is when they abuse the horses verbally, even if it's said jokingly. The
Yep.
horses, that's not a thing I particularly like either.
Mhm.
And I say to that they can understand you, so don't talk about them in front of the horses because
Absolutely.
they know exactly what you're talking about, and it's the vibe that you're giving off, not necessarily always the words, but yeah, they know, and as you said, they know what you're thinking before you even get there, which is
Absolutely.
which is which is quite funny.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I don't think they owe us anything anyway. So like if someone's like, "Oh, my horse is so bad," it's like, well, why should he be good? Like their
yeah,
horses are perfect until we come along and ask them to do something that they're not ready to do or put them in a situation they can't handle. So anything that's not going well is completely, up to us. We put them in that situation. They probably were fine if if we just left them alone in an environment that's right for horses. So we have to always think if something's not working, it's always on me.
and they do such a lot for us, these creatures. They carry us. Well, not mine because I don't get on mine, but they carry us. They give us emotional support. They put up with quite a lot, and when they get to the point of um, breaking down mentally or physically, they've taken quite a load already. And
Mm,
again, it's not always um, intentional, but I think when I think back to when I was a kid and you were talked about horses and you have to be the leader and you have to do this and you can't, you've got to show them who's boss. I mean, all these phrases, um, they maybe meant well at the time, but it's not really what the language that you need to be talking about. And I think it is changing, like you get on a horse and you have to kick it to make it go. No, you don't. So the language that we use is so ingrained that we don't think about it sometimes. And if we was a person, if that was a person and you were saying those things about a person stood at your side, you'd be like, hang on a minute, I am here, hello.
yeah.
um, so it's just changing your mindset and seeing it um, from their point of view. And always, I always look at me, what frame of mind am I in? Am I, even when I think, no, I've left my baggage at home, and I get there and my horse will go, no, you haven't. And I'll go, but I'm trying. um, and but if she's having a bad day, she's got her own energy levels going on because of the weather or whatever. She's like, I can't deal with you and me, so just off you go. And I know that, and she's quite aloof. And then the next day, I kind of sorting my head out. I go there, and she wants to be with me. But also that can change very quickly. And if you catch yourself doing that and step out of yourself, almost like it's not your horse, you're doing something for somebody else's horse, and you haven't got the emotional attachment, you can see them changing. It's almost like they go, thank
Yeah.
you. Just, so you might not achieve great things on that day, but what you've achieved is them to just relax because they know that you're in tune with yourself or you're noticing what's going on with yourself. They're
Mhm.
amazing teachers. And if you get to ride, that's the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So who are the horses that you have now then, that your own horses? And tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, I have I have a big mishmash of horses. So the horses that I'm riding right now are my horse Ovation, and he's a Holsteiner paint, and he's fairly advanced. I have Solana, who is a mare. She is a Kiger Mustang Andalusian Oldenburg cross. Interesting breeding. I have Natia, who is a PRE. And then I also have a horse named Teo, who I got most recently, well, a couple of years ago. He was about to be put down in a dressage barn, and I was like, all right, I'll take him. he had some issues. Sweet horse, though. And I have a new filly. She's almost 2. Her name is Cora, and she is Lusitano Andalusian cross. And then I have my horse Atomic, who is a national show horse, and he's fun Liberty horse. I have ridden him too, but then we decided that both of us were happier if I didn't. And he had some major health issues the last couple of years, but he is here and he is just as sassy as ever. And then I have a horse Hotshot, who was given to me about 7 or 8 years ago at this point. He was about to be retired for being lame, and I got him sound within a month, and then he went another 7 years with me, and then just in the last year he had some other issues and long-term chronic things that kind of caught up with him, so I retired him, but now he's sound again. So I'm watching him bounding around. I'm like, huh, maybe I'll start to play with him again. So those are my guys.
So you've collected more horses, basically.
Yeah, they don't ever leave. There's only one way that they leave. They leave me, and they're here for life. I just, it was just a decision I made. I love horses. When they come in, they're family, and that's just a decision I made. That, I'm lucky I have property, and I can take care of them, and they can stay here forever. And yeah, so I just decided that's how I want it to be, and so that's how it is. So I seem to be collecting horses.
Yeah, that's my mare. She's with me for life, and the only way she's going is that way. Because I made a promise to do that, because I've only ever owned 3 horses in my life. So a little dun pony, which I remember buying for £500, and that was quite a few years ago. And he was in a local pub. He was in the garden, and they used to keep him in this garden, and he was looked after well. And I saw an advert for this pony, and for some reason I went to have a look. I had no money, and I thought, why am I going to look at this pony? And I went to look at this pony, and I remember driving home and saying to my mum, oh, I've just been to see this pony, but I don't have the money. Oh, what am I doing, Mum? And she said, well, why don't you go see if they would let you pay a little bit each month? And I went, Mother, I says, they don't do that with horses. And she says, well, you don't know unless you try. So I says, okay. And I thought, they're not going to do that. Anyway, I went back. This was before mobile phones, really. And I went back and said, I really like Oliver. Same with Oliver. I said, I really like him, but I have to be honest. I can scrape a little bit, but I don't have the full amount. And they said, oh, that's no problem. I said, well, would you take a deposit and keep him? They said, oh, just put a deposit down, you can take him. I was like, what? So I had nowhere to keep this horse, and my friend said, you can keep him on the farm. So we went to pick him up. I had no tag. I had no idea how to look after a horse. I was like, what am I doing? And he lived on a farm with a bull. There was a bull in the field, and he would hang around with this bull, which was quite hilarious. And he was an amazing pony, and I went everywhere on him, and he was such a gentle chap, and he taught me so much. And when he went, because I think in those days, if life life changed and you couldn't keep your horse. I didn't have my own place, so I wasn't able to do that then. And I had to sell him. And the day he went, it was horrible. And I vowed I'd never do that again. You know, I would not do that again. The next horse is mine. And then I had an ex-race horse called Ferry, and she had muscle atrophy. So because she was a yearling and she raced on a track, after a while, her muscles just disappeared on one side, because they used to race them on a circuit on a tend to be one direction then. And she was with me as long. I think she was with me for quite a few years. And then I was going through a divorce, and again the same thing happened, and I thought, I can't do this again. But she actually went to a friend of a friend's who took her on, and then she found her like a permanent home. So Toots is this time she's not going anywhere, and so that's what I've promised. So she's stuck with me whether she likes it or not. Oh dear. But I know I don't ride because she has something called Shivers, which you know about, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because I saw a little bit about that, because I did clicker with her. So because I didn't ride her, I thought, well, she's going to be bored. I want to interact with her. So we used to play. And so I used to use clicker to play. And I used to get to go underneath arches and hula hoops and things and just play. And to help her when she was struggling with her legs, I would start doing click around her legs. But so she'd bring attention back. And that works really, really well. The winters are hard because she's out 24/7. She has shelter, but she is out and she prefers to be out. So she finds it harder. Spring and summer is a lot easier on her joints. But that helped me actually get over my confidence as well, using clicker to get on her. So we do have fun. I'm not sure whether she'd agree sometimes, but we do have fun. But they are amazing creatures.
Yeah.
So how did you discover Shivers in your horse?
How did I what? Sorry.
Discover the Shivers. What did the horse come?
Oh yeah, they
You
didn't tell me about that till he was here.
Okay.
Oh, by
So
the way.
was it far on, or?
Well, I don't think it's actually true shivers. I think it's more of a what they call standing leg hyperflexion or something. So it shows up when he goes to pick up, like if you were to ask him to pick up his foot to be picked out, is when he does the big shaking and abduction. But he is able to back up. So, the diagnosis of it is a little vague, but he doesn't have all the criteria for shivers, although that's what the person told me that their vet said he had. So something neurologic is going on there. But it doesn't seem to affect his riding. It often doesn't affect their performance, except for the backing up. But it is progressive usually, true shivers. So
Well, I've had Toots since she was 4, and she's 20 now, and it wasn't present. It sort of started to come, but it was the tiniest thing that I noticed, and it took a long time. But it's only diagnosed by a look of a vet, not blood pet tests or anything like that. But she's actually better when I back her up. So I used to practice backing up with her, again with the clicker, just playing around. And that actually helped her, because once she'd loosened up and she relaxed, she could move a lot better. But I found that really, 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 really helpful. So what would you like? So I know what we're going to talk about. I heard on which I'm really interested in, by the way, on Warwick's podcast, when you was talking about your trip to the pyramid. And you did so how far are we going back now? Because I don't have a photographic memory. I heard it, but I can't remember the date.
Yeah, this was around, let's see, maybe around 2000-ish, something around 2000. So 20 years ago now.
So before that happened, then what? Without telling us your personal details in your life, what was going on with you? Was there something that was changing?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a time in my life, I had gotten a divorce, I was living by myself, I was just sort of rethinking lots of stuff. Wasn't exactly happy at the training facility I was at, but hadn't really changed anything. But I just happened to pick up the book, The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, which I highly recommend. Very simple read, simple to read, not as simple to live, The Four Agreements. So after I finished that book, in the back it said something about power journey. So I called them up and said, I'll go on a power journey. So that's went to Mexico with the author Miguel Ruiz, who's like a Toltec shaman. And yeah, it was quite the trip. And we went to this place called Teotihuacan in Mexico, which is like sort of a Toltec Mecca. And yeah, just very interesting. It's the philosophy is really about, it's not a religion or anything. It's just a um, way to live your life. It's about knowing yourself and knowing your book of rules that you've created for yourself. And then once you've figured out what those rules are, you look at them and you go, do I want those or do I want to change them? So yeah, so it's a real, sort of personal journey kind of thing. And I just tend to dive right into things. So, I read the book and the next thing you know, I'm on top of the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico with a Toltec shaman.
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So when you say that it talks about the rules, we make rules on ourselves. Do you mean like as we're growing up, we say that we're going to be this or we're not going to be that? Is that what you mean?
It's a little bit of like every culture, every family has a culture, every country has a
Mm.
culture, every town maybe has a culture. It's you shouldn't do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice people don't do that. No, this is the way it's done. No, that's dumb. It's like, well, who says? Who says you can't do that? Who says this is the way it should be? So it's really looking at every single judgment that you have and realizing that all of those are created by someone. So and a lot of this, what Miguel will call like our domestication, right? We're all born just these pure beings. We're just born into this life, open to everything. And then we get taught stuff. And everybody gets taught a little bit different stuff depending on their family or their environment or where they live and their experiences they have, and that all accumulates. And it so much happens, by age 5, where you're not really even fully conscious, and then you're living your whole life based on these rules that were determined, um, in your early domestication before you're really truly
Mm.
conscious and fully formed. And then you're going through life, bumping up against things that don't fit into your rules. And it's a cause of stress. It's a cause of, so much tension in people's lives. And so just to look at that and go, is this really what I now believe? And we as adults get to relook at all of that and make sure we're choosing our beliefs and our book of rules in a way that's working for us. So,
Yeah.
light stuff like that.
It's quite I find, it's hard working on yourself though, isn't it? It's hard
Mhm.
um because you can be quite, I'm talking about me when I say you. Um used to be quite critical because first of all, I think my change in life came when I realized that stop being a victim. I'm not a victim, um, because things would happen in life, and then you could see a pattern that they would reoccur. Like you'd meet somebody, you'd get in a relationship, or something would happen, and you'd see the signs, but you didn't think you had the power to change it. I was brought up to believe if you met somebody, you fell in love, that was it, that was for life. But that was my parents' belief, or my
Right.
mother's and my grandparents' belief. And my poor mother, when she got a divorce from my dad, she had such a hard time with herself because of what was ingrained in her. It was so, so hard. That
Oh, right. How
when,
many people are miserable because their belief in the rules was you stay
yeah,
together for the kids?
absolutely.
Let's show the kids what a bad relationship looks like. You know, where, maybe that's somebody's rule, but, people
But
are
that was in those days, you just buckled down and you got on with it, and that was the thing, whether it was right or not. But that's what you did. And sometimes we look back at the past and think those were the good old days, and some things were, but not everything. And we
Mm-mm.
can take the positive and the things that that like the old ways. Some of the old ways are about the land, about animals, how to treat them, and how to look after them. But still, in those days they hunted, but they had respect for the animals they hunted.
Mhm.
We don't know the animals. People that this is a whole nother subject. They go to the supermarket. They don't know where the animals have come from. They don't know the story of the animal. It's there's a big chunk of things missing. And I think I don't know why I'm talking about that, but it's come
That's
up.
right, we got there somehow.
But that's part of it. Not knowing not knowing who you are, where you come from, and what's right for you, rather than just going through life doing because
Yeah.
that's what you've done. And it's hard because sometimes you're completely different, or you've got to stand up for your peers or people that are around you that don't think that way. So stepping out of your comfort zone it's hard work, but I would never go back to the other side, the dark side. No,
Yeah.
I'd never go back to the other me
Yeah.
because of what I'm learning, and I'm continuing learning, and I love it.
I think, everybody's running around or, myself included, trying to break the habit of running around trying to create the world as we want it. That's human nature, right? We're trying to,
Yeah,
because even if I say, "Oh, I'm gonna look at my beliefs and I'm gonna make a new book of rules, and that's the rules," there's still even a problem with that. So, because there's gonna be people who have different rules. And so then there's gonna be conflict. And the more I go through life, the more I'm trying to realize that nothing has anything to do with me. I can't really control anything. And the best thing I can do is, to use the words of Michael Singer, who I highly recommend you look up his stuff, is to surrender to the moment that's unfolding in front of me and to realize that I am just one little speck. And the best I can do is just be a part of what's happening. And then from that place of, well, here's this thing happening, then I can make decisions as to what I need to do, you know, to make the best decision there. But I'm operating from a place of, um, well, this is happening and how do I navigate it instead of that's wrong. You shouldn't do it that way. Then it's just very judgmental and creates resistance. And then you're just fighting with things instead of just going, well, this is happening. What's the best way through this?
yeah,
Because then you're not coming with the attitude of that person's wrong, or that horse is wrong, or this situation is wrong. It's like it's just happening. It has no meaning. To me, nothing has meaning. It's just happening. And then we just want to be in a place of love and navigate through it. So I honor myself and others as best I can.
hmm. And
That's the goal. I'm
yeah,
not sure
and
I
it's
can do it all the time, but that's it feels easier. It's not simple, it's challenging, but it's full of ease when you think of it that way. I'm not here
mm,
to try to make anybody fit into any picture at all. I'm just here's how I want to move through life, and I don't want to resist. I just want to navigate.
yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I was just going to ask you a question, and it's just totally gone out of my head
Oh, I know that feeling. Oh, the
as I
train
was
is leaving the station.
as
There
I
it
was
goes.
listening to you. Oh dear. So you have your online. So you've got your online place where people can go and watch your videos, and you do clinics though, don't you? You still do clinics every now and then.
Yeah, I have a couple that I do here at my place, and then I travel. I mean, the last 2 years I haven't traveled much, but I'm starting to do a little bit of traveling here and there. I kind of the amount of clinics that I do just varies depending on my mood, and I've been burned out once, so I'm very conscious of doing what I want to do and then changing it if it starts to feel like it's getting out of balance. So I am looking forward to starting to do some more clinics and see some people. And
Mm. Do you do agility with your horses? Do you because you've got so many horses? My mind's thinking, okay, what's a day like at Karen's place? It must be quite amusing.
well, let's see.
amusing.
Today I rode 3 of them, and then, let's see, yesterday I took my filly for a little adventure walk, and then today and then I exercised Teo online, and then Cora and Teo went into the pond, and we had a pool party, and, then today I did tricks with Atomic where he put the ring on the cone and touched the square instead of the circle and sat in the beanbag, and, you know, so I do a little everybody has their own little repertoire that they do.
Mm. And do you still see Linda Pirelli? Are you, do you still go see them?
Well, I just actually Linda hosted a dressage clinic with, a guest instructor from Europe, so, last week, so I was just over at her place, taking some lessons in that clinic, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
So what have you got planned? Anything coming up for summer? Because we can move around now, touch wood.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
so have you got anything?
yeah, some fun things coming up. Well, in March is when we, open up registration for my Finding the Sweet Spot of Healthy Biomechanics course, so that's always super fun because we get students from all over the world, and we run them through the course, and we have live weekly calls, and we do video coaching. So that's fun because I get to interact with students from all over the world, virtually. And so that's coming up next month. And then, oh my gosh, let's see. I have a clinic in Texas that I'm going to be going to. And then I have a clinic here kind of in the April time. And yeah, then it starts getting hot. So I actually um, don't have any travel planned for the hot months yet. But we have some projects of things that we're working on for some more virtual things. So
Yeah.
always doing something. But
And you've got a lovely place that you can play around with your horses, which is,
mhm,
like you said, you're very lucky to have that. And that's um, in the UK. So most horses in the UK, our land is a lot smaller than you out in the States. And they don't always have like a bigger area. So winter months, you tend to have smaller paddocks for the majority of people. And I'm lucky that Toots has always been out all her life, 24/7, because that's what I've wanted for her. So she can move around, she can come and go. It's her choice.
mhm,
But so I'm lucky that I've either manifested that or I've achieved that or whatever. But some places that they can be in quite a lot, especially in the winter, and they go out for a few hours. So when we get dry ground and the sunshine, it's like like when they all run to the seaside with a bucket and spade because the sun's out. It's like
yeah,
yay, and you see everybody out with the horses or having fun. And I've told Toots that I'm camping this year because the first year in lockdown, I stayed at my friend's farm where she still is actually. And she says, my friend said, oh, you may as well move in because then you can see Toots every day. So we sort of lived together. And I got to camp out, which I wanted to
fun.
do. So I used to camp in the field for a few nights. So I've decided I'm doing that again this year. So even if I don't get to go, if I don't get far, I can go to the field and camp out. So that should be fun. But I love that because I love spending time just watching and being with Toots and the horses. I love listening to them eat their hay. It's just very tranquil. It's lovely. And especially in summer, you're watching the tails swish, the little flies, and the sun as the sun goes down. I love spending
Yeah,
time
love it.
just being with my horses, which you get to do that every day as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, Karen? Is there anything?
No,
Good.
I mean, I think that's good. Anybody everybody can find me. I'm very Googleable, so you can find me at dressagenaturally.net. And like I said, there's lots of free stuff. So you can get free videos. You can listen to my podcast or read my blog. There's a lot of things on my website to kind of investigate. And then if there's anything people want to study more closely with me, there's you can click on the programs tab and find all kinds of stuff there to do, or just shoot us an email. We also, like if you look around on there and you're like, I don't know what to do, you can book a private consult with my team and we'll just talk to you about you and your horse and figure out, what would be the best place to point you to as far as to get going. So, yeah.
Do people normally take a video if they're going to do a consultation with you? Do they tend to do a little video so that you can send you, or
Not for that. This is the little private consult. It's not really a coaching session. It's more just like, hey, here's what my horse and I are dealing with. Which resource would be the best for us. For the people in our online courses, we do video coaching. We do private video coaching, and then also people post videos for the live group Q&As. So there is opportunity for that, definitely.
Okay, I'm just going to put, there's a few comments on there. So Phyllis,
Hi, Phyllis.
so happy to be here. A lady called Dee Dee.
Oh, she got the book. Oh, great book. Is that the 4 Agreements? I'm wondering if she's wondering about that.
Yeah, I think it was actually, because you can see these as
Cool.
come up.
Yes, Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul, and The Surrender Experiment. Really cool. And Michael Singer actually, his Temple of the Universe is like 40 minutes from me. So I've been able to go and before COVID, sit and hear him speak. Really cool. Another very simple, entertaining read and really hard to do what he says.
Most things in life when it's for yourself tend to be simple. Doesn't always,
Exactly.
doesn't always do it. Well, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on, firstly, and spending some of your time with us, and to hear a little bit about your life and your amazing horses. And it is interesting because you have come from one part of your life and you've brought that experience into the new part, which I think because of that as well, and you've had a lot of following, that people can see that change and they can appreciate where you've come from, but also for themselves they can see, well, maybe that's where I need to go now. Which is a big thing. And
and
good
always
to share.
reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
Always reinvent yourself.
So I'm just going to pop you out, Karen. If you don't mind just hanging on for a second, then I can say bye in person. Oh, what a lovely lady. What a lovely lady. So I hope you enjoyed our little chat tonight. And if you want to get in touch with Karen, there are links at the bottom of this video, but I'll repost them again, and I shall be making this into a podcast, so I'll put the links on that as well, so you can hear it if you want to. Okay, thank you for stopping on by. Thank you for your comments. It's a pleasure sharing these evenings with you, and if it brings a little insight and a little change for you and your horses, that's definitely a bonus as far as I'm concerned. So take care. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, and chat to you soon.